Boom.
Snel verrassing get Snel verrassing get
Apologies. Welcome back. My name is Thomas Fury. This is Zero News. Sorry about the intro. I actually started setting up a live and had completely forgotten that I'd paid for a year's worth of StreamYards, which anybody who uses StreamYards knows that's pretty pricey. And yeah, so I've come back on here, and it's been so long since I used it. It's got all these different features, and it's completely changed. But I've got a year of it because in a year's time, I don't plan to be paying for this anymore. You can do everything that StreamYards does, all these things, without having to actually pay any money if you could be bothered to learn it. Anyway, welcome back. I have said to you guys, I'm gonna have to look at your comments just behind me. I'm not. Basically, this is my living space here. So when I'm in here and I record, I do a temporary studio, and then I take it all down. So I recorded a video recently, which I still haven't released. It's becoming obsolete because things are moving so quickly. So please forgive the lighting and everything else. I'm taking the studio down and then decided to do a video, which is brilliant timing. But I felt it was kind of necessary. Whether I can get out what I'm trying to say, I don't know. So just bear with me. All I can do is give it my best. Like I say, I'm a bit rusty, but it's more than that. It's like, how do I explain what I want to try and explain it? And it's a fault. It's a failing in me, not in anyone else. So, and this isn't about the global bastard, although that figures in. This isn't about. This is about everything. This is about tying everything up in a little bit of a bow, really. I said in the title about the left, and the one thing that having a bit of time away gives you is a chance to do some of the research and some of the digging and thinking that you just don't get talking. You don't get the chance to necessarily do when you're just constantly thinking about the next thing to do. Again, please forgive me. It sounds tinny. I'm using a. Okay, I'm using a. Hang on a minute. It could be. I'm using a new wireless mic, but it could be that I need a proper lavalier to plug into it. So, hang on a minute. Sorry about this. This is all. I knew this was going to happen. It's all trial and error. It's when you kit. So, how's that sound now? Is that any better? Is that any better now? Give me a test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that any better? So I can see your chats there. That's why I keep looking away. Anybody give me some feedback on that, please? A bit better. Okay. Unfortunately, I have to have the sound off because I'll have a sound loop if I turn it back on. Can you hear me okay enough to get through this one? Actually, this is not how I was hoping this would start, but just bear with me because at some point we'll have to work through all these technical issues because, like I say, we're using new equipment, and the only way you can really find out what's good and bad is by testing in the field. So I'm just going to try and stick in a lavalier mic into this and see if it's any better for you guys, and we can go from there. I do apologise. I guess I should have seen this coming, really. Right, let's try this. I can't goddamn see it. Right, my friends, is that any better? Does that sound any better? It could be that the inbuilt mic's not that great. I was wearing the mic sort of slightly the wrong way, Bolton. The only thing you've got in it is I've got it on an absolute. I've got it on the top volume setting, so it actually should have. I thought it should have turn my gain down. Okay, now that is useful for me to hear or see. 1 second. Oh, sorry, it's too dark in here. To see the bloody thing properly. That's on that one. 1 second. Right, how's that sound now? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. How's that sound now? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Better. Okay, that's the minimum gain I can use on this mic. Yeah, better. So okay, so let's just try one more thing. Now I've ballsed the podcast up. We might as well use this for something good. So I'm going to take out the Lavier for a minute with the gain down, and we'll see how it sounds now. So this is now just using the original mic that I was using, but with the gain down. How does this sound? So I'll give a countdown again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How does that sound compared to a minute ago? Was it better with the mic plugged in, or is it better as it sounds now? Better than Lab. Okay, Jesus. So the actual inbuilt mic's better than the Lavier. Sorry, so you guys understand, we're using the wireless mics, and it has got a gain button on it. That's why it was so useful that you said that. But I thought the gain wasn't high enough when you first said it. So these are really, really good. But it's the first time I've used it live, so please bear with me. I do apologise. But your feedback is really, really useful, because obviously I didn't want to go and find this out in the middle of a demo or interview or something like that. So appreciate it for the feedback. Right, so to get back to where I was, and just again, I'll keep looking. If there's any problems, please let me know. And there's going to be some teething problems over the next few weeks. I've got a new video editors, new machine. I've just ordered. Today, I finally made the decision today. It's been very hard to get hold of equipment, which I'm going to come to in a minute. You may have noticed yourself if you own PC or whatever else, trying to get hold of the new graphics cards are really hard to get hold of at the moment. I've managed to get hold of one. So I'm now going to have like the third most powerful graphics card on the planet, which is going to be very, very useful. But there's going to be a bunch of teething problems as I go through it. Anyway, to get to the point, the left and the right, I want to just talk a little bit about this today. And I have something here which may seem slightly weird to bring into the conversation. Anybody recognize what that is? Hey, just bear with me 1 second. StreamYard's a shit for being able to see yourself on camera. Right, we all know what this is, yeah? I mean, obviously it's a VR headset, but this is the Oculus Quest 2. And excuse me, in only a couple of generations of VR. Now, this is not going to be a video about games and VR and stuff like that, so don't worry. But it's important to note that just in a couple of generations, these types of pieces of equipment went from like £1,000 for a PC to the same company actually making them specifically for a PC, because this thing does everything itself. But you've also got the option to plug it into a PC so that you can have the power of a PC, so you can do both for about 300 quid. So things have changed. So Oculus have got a massive market share. Why does any of this matter, right? For a video like that, I mean, I could just do a review on it, right? It matters because Oculus is owned by Facebook. And I talked a little while ago about how these companies are putting their politics before their profit, which is very unusual for a capitalist society, which is why these companies have gone full on communist. But at the same time, I mean, you've all seen Zuckerberg being held or attempted to be held to task in Congress. Well, he's going to be back. It's going to be happening again because there's more going on. So this, and I'll explain why. So does anybody remember when Microsoft got told, actually in law, and it never really happened? It did for a little while, and then they've just reversed it all. Do you remember when Microsoft were told, hang on, don't force people to use your browser in your operating system. Give people a choice, because you're forcing your browser on people and they don't know they've even got another choice. And so for a while, when I think it was Windows 7, it used to give you a choice when you first switched it on, which browser, there's a set of browsers, these are the main ones, which ones do you want? But they basically had people over a barrel. Now, this headset, okay, in order to be able, so this is owned by Facebook, right? This is a gaming headset. I've also found that it's got a green screen capability, so you could actually make a green screen video with inside this. Well, it's amazing. Here's the but to have this, and these are out of stock at the moment. So if I'm making you feel jealous, I apologize. But to have this and use it, you need to do something. You need to have a Facebook account. It's this sort of shenanigans has been going on in the PC industry for years, but not in the VR industry, not with this kind of thing. You have to have a Facebook account, mandatory, or these things won't work for you. You have to have a Facebook account. Now, bear in mind, the data harvesting and everything else Facebook does, and I've been talking to a lot of people who've actually interacted with a lot of the adverts on Facebook recently. They don't even check to see who's putting the ads on there. So people are getting ripped off because they think that Facebook's a big company, so they wouldn't allow people on there to do ads and stuff like that. That weren't legit. Well, that's not true. So you have to have a Facebook account. So at the moment, I think it's the US government and the German government are getting Zuckerberg back in court for this reason. Because if it was a functional thing, let's say this was created so for the primary purpose of interacting with people on Facebook, then yeah, okay, that would make sense. But that's not its primary function. In fact, like, I don't use Facebook, I hate it. So for me, it's a case of creating an account purely so that I can use this headset. And bear in mind the data harvesting they already do. This thing, when you sign into Facebook and everything else, this thing grabs hold of your account, or they grab hold of this. And don't forget, this has got microphones in, cameras, you name it. It's got every type of recording equipment you could ever need in this. And then you're putting that in the hands of Zuckerberg. Now, because Oculus, like I said, Oculus is owned by Facebook. Because Oculus, a company that I've always admired, have taken the approach they've taken, because Facebook have taken the approach that they've taken, something's happened that nobody saw coming, and that is they are beginning, well, not beginning, they've almost already monopolized the market. So think about what that means. If you've got a company that's monopolized the market and they're making you go on Facebook, before long, if someone doesn't step in, there'll be no other choice. You will be forced, if you want to use this type of technology, to go through Facebook just to be able to play a boxing game or a fitness thing. You get fitness things on things like you get things on there where you can learn languages. You know what I mean? It's not all gaming, but the point of it is, whether it's gaming, whether it's one of these things, none of them need Facebook. The only thing that you need Facebook for on this is to use Facebook, literally. And okay, there's other things you can have. So people on your friends list on Facebook can come and join you in a game. Personally, I don't want that. My gaming space is my own. F off into your own. And if we plan to play a game together, we'll talk about it on the phone, don't you know? So you don't need Facebook for it, is my point. It's not, there is no technical reason to do this. So they're going to be he's going to be taken to court by, so far, Germans, the US. And it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out, because what I think they're going to propose is that Facebook either gets broken up or that Oculus and Facebook get separated as companies. I don't know whether they'll be successful. I don't know what's going to happen. What I will say is, the reason I'm bringing all this up is that this is all. Remember ages ago I said to you, like, the sickness that's going on is going down the capillaries and the veins and the arteries of the country, and you can see. And I'm going to go as dramatically as to say you can see the fall of the West, right? And there's a question that I've had, and some of you have had it as well, and it's like, why are we on the supposed right fighting for things that used to be the I forgot what the word is now, but used to be the domain of the left? Free speech and tolerance and things like this. That is actually being more promoted now by us, and certainly not by them. And the question was why? And the answer was so gleamingly obvious, I completely missed it. So, like, why is the left gone back on certain values that it used to champion above others? Why does the left not want freedom of speech now when they used to fight for it? Why does the left not want the same kind of tolerance now when they used to fight for it? The answer is depressing. The answer is quite simple. It's because they weren't in power. They had no power when they were fighting for those things. Right now, we have, at minimum, you could call them a liberal government posing as conservatives. The media, from gaming, and in the video I'm trying to make, I'm trying to show you all the evidence of all this, but it's taken so long. From gaming to comic books, which we'll come back to. And I'm not into comic books, but I've kept my eye on all the industries, niche industries to mainstream pop culture industries. All of them now are being attacked, infected. DC Comics, and I'll give you an example. DC Comics, right? I don't read comics, but DC Comics, obviously where things have gone digital, very much comics have become more of a niche market, but a very, very strong niche market. And it has, but there's a guy called Ethan Van Sciver who has a channel called Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and he's been an illustrator and stuff for Marvel and DC. He's ended up releasing his own his own comics now through crowdfunding and stuff like that, because he said after 25 years in the industry, he had to go, because if you had a Republican view over there, then you were ostracized and treated a certain way, and the multi-gendered idea that the left has, all these other things, are now being forced through these comics. And the thing of it is people are rebelling against it, in as much as they're not buying into it. They're trying to force people to like stuff, but people are still gravitating to what they gravitate to. So that they're losing out. So when I said to you about them putting their politics before profit, DC Comics is about to disappear from the face of the earth, literally about to disappear. And rather than try and turn it around, they are willingly and knowingly, and you can check this out, pushing this agenda of theirs of forcing this politics into these comics, still down people's throats, to the day that they stop. Basically, it's got to the point where retailers have told them, we're not going to stock your stuff anymore. DC's a massive company. Imagine a retailer telling LucasArts, well, we're not going to stock your films. It's kind of that serious. We're not stocking them because you're forcing this weird stuff on young people, and they don't want to read it. They don't want to see it. But they don't care. They just keep producing anyway. It's almost like, I don't know if you ever remember when they used to do the Knight Rider program. It was really not the original one, but the one that came out in about 2000s. And there was only about 100,000 people that ever used to watch it. But it was really it was an advertisement for a car. So they just paid to have it on anyway. Entertainment was nothing to do with it. It's kind of a similar thing. So excuse me. So DC Comics, that is about to disappear. And obviously, DC is a big company, so it will have all the movie side and everything else still there. LucasArts, Lucasfilm, they're not Lucasfilm. So when Lucasfilm was bought by Disney, many of us had some worries about it. And again, I won't go in. This is not about entertainment. I feel like these are the symptoms of that need to be noticed, because it's actually in our pop culture and everything else that you can see how bad this rot has got. And bear in mind, I can't see your comments at the moment. I do apologise. You can see how bad the rot has got because Lucasfilm. So Disney buys Lucasfilm for, what was it? Was it $4 billion? It was a lot of money. So they were obviously looking for a return. So what they did was, if you don't know who runs Lucasfilm at the moment, it's a woman called Kathleen Kennedy. She has worked on movies like Indiana Jones and stuff like that. She was actually quite good at her job when she was working for someone else. Now they've made a head of LucasArts. In 2012, the first thing that she did to set the tone for what was to come was to come out on stage with a t-shirt saying the Force is female. What am I trying to tell you? She's a raging Marxist feminist. And anybody who knows about the Star Wars story over the last few years, it's not about the story in the films, guys. So don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with Star Wars if you hate it. It's about what they've done. They tried to take the legacy characters, that is the characters from the last set of films, and pretty much humiliate them. Pretty much humiliate them and the actors, and try and kill them off in some strange purge. They then made it so that you had an overwhelmingly strong female cast. The cast, you can tell, is literally quoted. This many black people, this many Asian people, all women. The men are all incapable, angry, or useless. And just like in Star Trek at the moment, when you watch these Star Wars things, they've pushed the female role so far that the person that played the equivalent of what would have been Luke Skywalker in the new movies was labeled a Mary Sue. If you don't know what that is, it's someone who's got all these crazy powers and abilities and everything else. It's never really explained in the story. They're just they're overpowered, overhyped, no explanation, just to give them like a push that the audience isn't going to buy into because they don't get it. For anybody that's watched Star Wars, I'll give you an example. So in the old one, Luke had to train for years to be able to do the most basic Jedi stuff. In the new films, this girl that plays the equivalent of the new sort of Luke Skywalker, and nobody had a problem, by the way, with a woman playing this role. It was the fact that she was doing Jedi mind tricks and everything else, and nobody even told her how to do it. She just suddenly came across it by just, who knows? She didn't even know any Jedi or anything else. But so there's this really strange story arc. Then you had a thing where you had all woke directors, but one director, J.J. Abrams, made the first film. Then the second film was made by a crazy progressive guy called Rian Johnson. And he's well worth looking up. He was going to have another trilogy after this, Star Wars. That's disappeared, but we'll come to that in a second. Raving lunatic. He made a film called Last Jedi, which was the second film of these new ones, which split the audience in half. But here's the thing, it didn't just split an audience, it created two groups so passionate with hate, anger. People felt betrayed over a film, just over a film. But they'd done such a bad job. But it wasn't even that they did a bad job. It wasn't even incompetence. They deliberately tried to push certain things down people's throats. And do you know what? You might have even been able to get over it had there been a good film behind it. But there just wasn't. So these films have gone and not only depressed and disappointed people and everything else, but the thing of it is they made money because people were very, very expectant of these films. They've been waiting a long time. So they went to watch these films, and then when they went and watched the second film and hated it, their hope was, because they loved this franchise so much, that maybe in the third film they try and fix things, and they did try and fix things, failed miserably. And you got some people that like it, but people know when they're being force fed crap. And so what's happened now is, when all this happened, by the way, and they did make lots of money, but they got panned massively. Then they did a story about Han Solo. And if you know who that character is, then you may find it strange that he was in his origin story looks into being one of the characters, Lando from the original, turns out to be pansexual. I mean, why do we need that in Star Wars? Why is that agenda being put? But there it was. And so Solo, I think it was called Solo or something. They were going to do loads of one-off movies and trilogies. All those movies have disappeared. They're not being made now. There was going to be a sequel to the Solo. None of them being made. Why? Because they were flopping and they were getting worse and worse and worse and worse. The only people that gave them good reviews were the actual Hollywood critics. So you had the Hollywood critics giving these things like 80 and 90%, but the people were giving them like 23%. Another illustration of just how far the media, Hollywood, and the powers that be are so out of sync with us now, completely out of sync. And their way of fixing it is to tell you, and this is what they're doing on Twitter, this is what they're doing over YouTube, and they're actually writing to YouTube channels and doing this. They're telling people, now imagine this in any service industry. They're telling people, if you don't like this, it's because you didn't check your expectations at the door. It's your fault. As a customer, it's your fault. You are toxic. That's what they are telling people. Rather than saying, oh, we made some films, you're not very happy with them, we will do better in the future. So they called all their films off. And they said, oh yeah, what it is Star Wars saturation. We've made too much Star Wars. No, you made crap and you tried to force your ideas on people. So in the meantime, a guy called Dave, I can't remember the name, so I'm going to get the wrong. Dave Filoni and somebody, David Favreau. I'm roundabout right with the names. Come up with a series called The Mandalorian, which is on Disney Plus, and they're now trying to rush everything onto Disney Plus because they're basically, people think that theaters are going to go out of business, so they're trying to rush things onto Disney Plus. So Kathleen Kennedy, after 8 years of destroying a franchise that meant so much to so many, she was trying to target 5% of the audience. 5% of Star Wars watchers are women. So, and then she tried to use that as her main target audience. So you're targeting the smallest demographic and hoping to make money. How does that make sense? So you'd think, after getting a kicking like this, that they'd go, right, we have to just accept people like what they like, we're going to make what they want. Well, they kind of did. But now she came out proudly the other day to announce all these projects that are about to happen. About 8 new Star Wars series. Most of them, none of us are interested in. Most of them don't even know what they are. But all these different series coming out, and she's proudly standing there. I think she even said, what could go wrong? And it's just like, you're unreal. But the point of it is there's no shame that she's taken a box office huge franchise that was fit purely for the cinema, is now completely unfit for cinema screens because they've made it that bad. So they've had to now make these little small 20-minute series of things to get going again because they've got themselves in that bad a position. So they made this thing called The Mandalorian, which is actually really good. I think it was aimed at kids. But the man and men behind it, even though she's executive producer, the men behind it went straight back to the plan that works, and that is aim for the demographic, stick to the story, stick to the universe, stick to the principles, stick to the entertainment. They did that. The show's a roaring success. And this is what gave her the idea to go, right, we're now going to release all these shows instead of films because that's, and she sees this as a success. So what she's done, rather than learn a lesson and go, right, these series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to these guys, right, we're going to focus now on just making entertainment and not playing with politics. No. She's being a bit smarter now. She's going to make these series all coincide, and I don't understand how this all works, but they're all going to link somehow. But there's I think about 3 titles that are deliberately. One of them is a deliberately feminist, all female cast. Now there's no all male cast things, all female cast to do a deliberately over the top feminist version of Star Wars. Nobody knows why. It's just always been on her agenda. So she's using the success of the show that works to offshoot. So in a way, I suppose in her top head, she thinks she's catering for everyone. But what people like her failed to realise, and I realise I'm on a ramble, but I don't know if I'm going to get my point out here. But, excuse me, she's trying to push this politics, and she's not prepared to back down. And everybody thought she was going to lose her job. I mean, to fuck up a franchise of that size, you would think would be head chopping stuff. And it appears that she's not going anywhere until she's damn well ready. So, excuse me. So you have these shows, and one of the other shows seems to be all about, again, forcing the gender issue. Now, again, there's a couple of shows that they've announced that just look like normal, actually at last, normal shows. But she's using those to still push the agenda. That's just one branch of one company in Hollywood. The point being is, and she's just one woman, but the point being is, I mean, the Hollywood bubble, the people that told you that you were disgusting with the Me Too thing, they get caught in Hollywood, being Hollywood and taking advantage of women and everything else. So what did they do from that? They started to, chastise the world and tell the world that they needed to stop behaving this way. And I don't know how you felt, but I felt like, hang on a minute, why are we getting told this? You were the ones that got caught doing it. Surely it's you that needs to hold your hands up and say, we're scumbags and we need to change. No. Instead, it was pushed out. And this is how they seem to do things. But very much, I feel like this, the comic industry, the movie industry, more than ever before, is being completely dominated. And they really do believe that they can push this down your throat. They think if they normalize this, people will gravitate towards it. But it's more a symptom of, like I said at the beginning, it's more a symptom of something else. It's a symptom of the fact that, have we already lost? I've always said to people that we're on the losing side. And some people say to me, oh, Tom, that's pessimistic. Why are you even bothering then if you think they're on the losing side? And I have to explain, I didn't say we'd lost. I didn't say we were going to lose. But right now, we are in the weakest position. And we've been talking about silent majorities, yeah? Well, I'll tell you something, I'm gonna call bullshit on my own ideas and others' ideas now. Fuck the silent majority. The silent majority either doesn't exist or is completely useless because it's silent. It's a chocolate teapot. It's completely, if it's there, it's useless. If people aren't stepping up and saying something, then there is no majority. All there is a majority of silent people. That's what we've got to deal with. And I've been walking around saying, no, we've got all these people, we've got this silent majority of people. They just need the right set of things to set them off and they'll start fighting back. How many more things do they need? Your entertainment is screwed now. Your way of life is screwed. The government are taking advantage of a disease from the best way I can see it, or a virus, whatever you want to call it. How many more pieces of Parliament hasn't got the control at the moment to be able to say, well, to change laws, you need to call Parliament. So
I don't know if you've noticed, but on the news, the government will come out and say, "Oh yeah, so today we're going into tier 4," and they drop this on people, and then they'll say, "Yeah, we're going to change the law, but it's only temporary. It's not been put through Parliament. Nobody's voted on it. It's not a democratic decision. We're going to change the law." They're saying it to your face, and because you're so used to just hearing bullshit on the news, probably not even taking it in. They're saying it to your face. We're changing the law. We're taking your freedom away. This law will affect your freedom, and we're passing a law like that. It's not going through Parliament. Oh, but by the way, you will get these freedoms back. You just have to trust us. That has never worked, ever, in history, especially not in this country. That's never worked. Every freedom you give away, if you get it back, you'll only get part back. And I've got a feeling that when all this ends, and I mean, I know many of you think that this won't end. I think that this will. I think there is a massive. I thought there was a cultural revolution happening. I think. Well, Bolton, you say it's not a law. I hear you. I'm only quote. He literally said yesterday, "We are changing the law." So I'm just quoting him. What's his name? What's his name? It's not Cummings anymore, is it? The guy that talks about COVID. I forget what his name is now. But it's not me saying it. He didn't say regulations. He said law. We're changing the law, and I've heard this a few times now. So, but what I must admit, when I had a look at the tier 4 things, they do come across like regulations. So, but I'm only using the words that he used, and whether it's law or not law or anything else. The fact of it is, you've got policemen going out and trying to arrest people for not wearing masks, trying to physically force people to wear masks, and telling you, even though there's absolutely no evidence to suggest that lockdowns do anything good, especially now, there's just no evidence. We haven't got a way of measuring causality at the moment. So the best thing we've got is correlation. It's the only thing we've got at the moment. And in terms of lockdowns, and how well they affect controlling a virus, which is a hilarious idea. There's no correlation at all. When you look around the planet, there is literally no pattern of lockdown and result. It's mixed, and there's just no pattern anywhere. So there's no. But on trust, we're taking these freedoms away from you. You just have to trust us to give it to you back. And I would suggest to you that, okay, we probably will come out of this. I know many doom-mongers think that we won't. I think we will. But I also think that we'll get some of those freedoms back, not all of them. The things with the protesting and stuff like that, I mean, we have been a pain in their ass for years. Do you not think that anything they can keep back, that they will? Do you think do you really trust anybody in power, or that could be in power, to give you back any freedom that you give them? Because at the moment, you can't trust these people. You can't trust their word from yesterday to today. It's, in fact, to be honest with you, since before Brexit, let's face it, part of the Brexit vote was people just had enough of all of the bullshit. Like, whoever we vote for, they shit on us. And that's how people feel, and that's why people were so despondent towards the ballot box. Someone made an interesting argument for the two-party system. I've always been against it, and they said, look, there's two dominant ideologies, and they said, so you actually need them, this two-party system, because if these two ideologies don't balance out, you get what you've got now, and that is, if something goes one way, you go into a totalitarian direction. And that's why I brought up all of this, the entertainment and everything else today. All of this is only a few steps away with the types of freedoms and the types of laws, like terrorism laws being misused. Those terrorism laws that have been used on Tommy, for instance, that shouldn't have been. That was done in the 2000s, and exactly this I've seen it before. The same thing was said back then. This is a temporary measure. It's very unlikely we'll use it, and we'll give it back. Never happened. Google used to give you all the searches that would appear. Google's mission was simple. We will supply whatever results there are to be found, because we're not here to judge the results, we're here to provide the results. And then governments and that stepped in and said, if you don't do something, we will. And I remember when it happened in this country, we were being pressured by America. There was virtually no one in Parliament. It was one of those days. It was like, it wasn't a news story, barely. There's virtually no one in session, and they passed this law through that basically broke the Data Protection Act. Again, it was another one of those things where it's, oh, we're only doing this because of piracy. We're not going to use this in any other way, even though it could be. We're not going to, and it's only temporary. That's been around for about 15 years now. That's how temporary that was. And those laws that were supposed to deal with piracy, I've seen the same laws used against Tommy and used against other people who they have political differences with, because the law's there to be used. If it's there, they'll use it. If you give someone power, they will use it. And admittedly, we didn't give them power on that occasion. They just took it. And right now, I will give all the benefit of the doubt in the world to try and come to a sensible argument. What I'm trying to say is, I'm prepared to say, okay, I'll trust you with the virus thing. I will put all this to one side in terms of, is it real? Isn't it real? How much? All that stuff that all of you are arguing about on the internet. I'm willing to let all that go. But then look at the situation and go, well, even if I do that, even if I give you the benefit of the doubt of all of this, that still makes, right, so imagine everything they're saying is true. Then I look at them and I think, well, that still makes you at minimal incompetent. It means that you made a huge mistake that you won't admit to, and you are seizing, if it's all real and above board, then you're seizing an opportunity. You've seen the way the police have acted. The places have been shut down. Now, here's the thing, like I say, if there was overwhelming evidence to suggest that the global bastard could be controlled, then fine, control it. And I don't think you'd need to take people's freedoms away, because I think that if we had something in this country where we could see people dropping down in the street, you would choose to lock yourself in. But there's not, and I think that's part of the problem. Many of us don't even, we only know barely of someone who's had it, or do you know what I mean? So for many of us, it's not even touching home. In this area, we keep being told, oh, it's coming to you at rate now. It's coming to you really fast now. It still hasn't. It's been constantly threatened, still hasn't. And this is me giving all the benefit of the doubt in the world. And bear in mind, I've got the poll results in my head. And to anybody who doesn't understand what that means, I've asked twice now what you guys think on the internet, because this is something that I wanted you to know, just for the sake of data. When I go on the internet, someone quite rightly pointed out when I did the last poll, they said, coming on here, you kind of know what answer you're going to get. You should ask different groups of people. And it was like, I was way ahead of that person, but they were right to say so. So when I go on the internet, if you look at the last poll we did, let me see if I can bring it up. This is interesting to me, because it means that the people in the street are either liars or they are the supposed silent majority that actually agree with the government. So, and I'll give you an example. Some of the questions I've asked on the street, and yes, I know I should have filmed it, but I haven't, as you know, I haven't been filming. So when I've had these conversations, all I've just asked is, do you think that masks are necessary? What do you think of lockdown? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? And the answers on the street I get it's pretty clear that nobody I've spoken to on the street believes in the lockdowns that I've spoken to. And then there could be a million reasons why, but nobody in the street that I spoke to thinks the lockdowns are working or right. But at the same time, when I ask people on the street if they believe that we should be wearing masks, if they believe this and that, they do, generally, overwhelmingly. Now, whether they're lying, whether they think that's what they got to say, whether that's what they actually believe, that's the difficulty you face in asking anybody a question. So you have to take it on face value. So we go to Zero News. Hang on a second. So we go to Zero News, which I just classed in my head as the internet version of the same questions. I did a poll a few months back. Oh, hang on, sorry, I just pressed the wrong bloody thing. I did a poll a few months back, basically asking about the Global Bastard and what your thoughts were on it. And then I just did one recently to kind of compare the results. And I'm just trying to find it now. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, it's on the community page, isn't it? It's on the community page. So let me see if I can find the first one first. It says somewhere. Right, so the original one I did, I'll show you. I actually completely misspelt the bloody thing, so it was a bit messed up. But I don't know if you can see this. It's on the community page anyway, but I'm just showing you this for reference. Okay, so this one had 950 votes. I thought it was more than that, to be honest. That must have been another question I'm thinking of. There was one that went into like 1,700, but it's obviously not this one. 950 votes, and the first one, although it doesn't read easy on the eyes, it was meant to say COVID was underestimated, then overestimated, and the government messed up. Yeah, and about 8% of you voted for that. Second thing I put was, I need to avoid saying that word. The global bastard was hijacked or other reasons, 9%. The next thing I put was the whole global bastard thing is a hoax and laws are draconian. 48% of you voted for that. And then next one, COVID, okay, but human rights are being eroded with no opposition, 13%. And then the last option I put was, I don't know, but this all makes me suspicious, 22%. So I looked at that as quite a lot of negativity towards it. So with the poll that I did this time, now bear in mind, this poll that I've done recently is new. It is recent. So we haven't had as many votes or whatever else. But I decided that, considering the answer to the last question, it made more sense just to ask less questions. So what I did this time was we've had 479 votes on that already. Actually, that's quite quick. On this one, the first question was, I think things are what they are. This is mostly above board. That's people that are, maybe have some gripes, but generally believe what's going on is kosher. 6% of you, 6%. Now, what you may not be aware of is that when I'm talking to people in the background, there's a hell of a lot of people that are shocked when they see this. And for me, I don't know where I sit on this scale. I know where I don't sit. But you are all so much more sure than me about so much of this. Maybe you're just more informed than me. Maybe, See, the thing is, I do realize that sometimes I don't separate when I talk to you guys the difference between when I'm talking. Sometimes I say conspiracy theory a lot, and sometimes I mean to say theory, and sometimes I mean to say conspiracy theory. And I need to be a little bit more aware of that, so that when I say theory, I'm not just dismissing things. But anyway, so next question was, I believe it, but I think it's been seized and used. Now that one I did because actually that's where I sit on the spectrum at the moment. That's probably where I am. 19% of you voted for that. The next one was, don't believe mostly any of it. This was all planned. And that's just kind of what I got from the poll results before. 71% of you said that you don't believe mostly any of it, and you believe it was all planned. Now, I don't know how you've got there. I know many of you have sent me YouTube videos and things like that, but in terms of proof, and I'm open-minded here, right? But in terms of proof, I haven't seen any. I've seen some correlation. I've seen some, and bear in mind, I'm well against all of this. I'm against what's going on at the moment. So don't think I'm defending anyone here. But I can't quite go as far as so many of you had. And by the way, the last thing was something else. I just put something else. That covers everything else. Just 4%. So the overwhelming majority of you believe it was planned. And the ones that don't, at least think it's been seized upon and used. Now, I'm in the seized upon and used category. Um, and I will be honest with you, it'd be easy for me to just stay quiet and not tell you what I think. But what's the point of this show? I'm looking at that 71% and I'm like, I get it, but I also don't. And then I've got to try and weigh that up with the person in the street that doesn't believe in lockdowns, but does believe most of the rest of it. And then the other end of the scale, and this is what almost turns this religious, is you've got the people that wear the masks when they're sat in a car alone. You've got the people that are walking in the forest who are wearing a mask and there's no one else around for miles. It's become a religion. And those calling people anybody that doesn't do what they do, was it COVIDiots they call them now? Does this not remind you of the Brexit scenario in some ways? You're just labeling names to people. So this has become very much a religion, a religion of the mask. And what was really funny to me, and it was only because I took it literally, when they started talking about places going into tier 4 and into tier 3 yesterday, when they said the New Forest, which is where I live, when they said the New Forest was going into tier 3, I nearly cried laughing, because I thought, I'm going to go and show everybody, just go on the edge of the New Forest and show everybody what is going into tier 3. Some trees, some horses, and some car parks. So I thought that was brilliant. I mean, I do realise it's the area, but normally you'd say the Solent or you'd say Hampshire, or no, they actually said New Forest, which I just thought was brilliant. I thought, so we're locking down some trees now. Mind blowing. But personally, for me, I can only go on what I see and what I can prove, right? And from being at Speaker's Corner, and from seeing the police take the knee, I've seen the police being given powers, and I've seen them using them, and I've seen them using them in a corrupt, wrong way. I've seen them take a side, which is the left's. I've seen them take the knee for the left. I've seen them beat us whilst protecting the others. I've seen that every time we've tried to have a demonstration or whatever this year, we've been threatened with fines, threatened with prison, and these people have gone out and had massive demos and have gone completely unpunished. And yeah, and so there's a part of me that's a bit confused with that part. Is it all their fault, or should we have had more balls? Should more people have had more balls to get out there and do something? And I actually don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know that when we were, how many, there would have been a lot of people who would have originally turned up for Tommy's case, to do with his daughter. That video of where you see the police trying to detain him after his daughter had been assaulted, really. And the video I'm talking about? That video, this was in the video I was going to make, but I might as well say it now. That video, just on my channel alone, is over 150,000 views, just on my tiny little channel. So if 10 big channels shared that, which I'm sure more than that did, I have no idea how many people saw that video. But it was something like 2.5 million impressions of just its existence on my YouTube channel. So across the world, across the different platforms, across YouTube, how many people saw it? Probably millions. And if you go back and look at that video, you'll see overwhelmingly that people, Muslims as well, came out in support for Tommy. There was a lot of people on that said, I'm not normally someone that will talk good of Tommy, or I'm not a Tommy follower, but I would have gone, and nearly all of them said I would have done worse than what Tommy did. And so it's really important to know that Tommy's already been processed, and we're all happy because he gets to spend Christmas with his family, right? That's oh shit, that's the right thing to think, right? But what's wrong is where we're all kind of happy about it, because at the end of the day, he's been done with the crime. So they've been harassing him all year. When we're at Speaker's Corner, they arrested him for having an offensive weapon, which would have been the most dumbest thing in the world. And there was just I mean, we were all stood there. I mean, you saw it. There was just no sign of anything like that. But they did that, and it was obviously deliberate. And they've been, and in that clip that Tommy showed, that guy, that police officer, sort of admitted to him in a friendly kind of haha way. Oh, he's like, why did you stop me? Well, I saw you passing. You don't see him. What he means is he recognised the number plate and he's going to pull him because it's Tommy Robinson. And so many of you came out, regardless of what your beliefs are about Tommy, in support of this video, because you realise that that could be you and your children, and you all, nearly all of you, said you would have done far worse than what Tommy did. You wouldn't have. Many of you said, "I wouldn't have restrained him. I would have killed him." That was nearly a word for word quote. Go and have a look at the video. It's all there. The proof's there. And so bear in mind, Tommy has now been. He's now got on the paper on Tommy's. I forget what you call it. On the chitty, yeah. It's not going to say Tommy got charged with common assault, yeah. So it's not going to say common assault with a little asterisk there saying but the other guy is still going to court. Oh, and his daughter was, and he was defending his daughter because his daughter was inappropriately touched, and he was none of that exists. None of that exists. All that exists is the crime and the date, yeah. And you back that up with the other trumped up crimes. How many freedoms have you lost? You've been told you're in the. You've been made in the wrong. You've been convicted of a crime. At the end of the day, don't lose sight of the fact he's been convicted of a crime. His daughter was touched inappropriately. The guy admitted it, and Tommy's been convicted of a crime. Now the other guy is, I think, next year going to be in court on a charge of assault against the minor and inappropriately touching the minor. I didn't get the exact charge, but hopefully someone can correct me and tell me the exact charge. But let me actually try and get you on screen so I can see your comments again. So with that in mind, what happens then if the guy does get done? And I mean, let's not even think about it if he doesn't, because that's a whole, I don't even want to go down that road yet. But let's say he does get done. What does that say then to you as, and I'm not a parent, I made that a hard choice because I was afraid of a world like this. But many of you are. So what does that say to you as a parent if this other guy does get convicted? No, I'm jumping ahead here because it hasn't happened yet. If this other guy does get convicted of doing that, and by the way, many of you scream set up, and I kind of agree with you because there's so many things that have happened that just anyway, if he gets convicted, what does that say to you about your rights as a parent to defend your children against paedophiles and people that would inappropriately touch them or possibly even take them away or whatever else? You've seen what happens. Kids disappear, they get raped, killed, murdered. So what does it say to you guys? How do you feel about the fact that he's been done for a common assault? It won't have an asterisk there. It won't say, but he was defending his daughter, right? So imagine that's you. You don't have a big platform like Tommy. You don't have us backing you like Tommy. You maybe are in a sensitive job. And all they care about, or maybe you're looking for a job. Everybody will be soon with the current crisis going on. You go to that job and you've got common assault by your name. Not common assault, I was protecting my child. It will just have the charge. Yeah, right? This is what is so important, not to just say, oh, well, he's spending time at home. At least. No, not good enough. Not good enough. Like, you all, I mean, I know that mob rule isn't the right way, but there was virtually no one that spoke against Tommy on that video, right? The consensus was like so clear because you all understood as parents that you all would have done the same or worse. You would not have let that guy walk away, and you just wouldn't have let it. None of you, from what I could tell and understand, could have let it pass. So, what does it say to you? I'm just trying to put myself in the place of parents. Surely that's frightening as a parent. So you could be convicted for defending your child against a legitimate threat. How is that? How does that work moving forward? So if the guy gets convicted, it says that you cannot really then by law, protect your child against a paedophile or someone committed a crime against a child. Now, that's just beyond bonkers. That's a crime in itself to me. And if he doesn't get charged, I don't even know what to say on that. So we're gonna have to wait until next year to find out. But so, like I say, I was trying to make a video, a recorded one, because there's so many different angles to this. I've even got to Black Lives Matter, but all of this, when you talk to so many people, and you listen to so many people are beginning to realize now that our society is beginning to take the shape of either one of two things. One is a society that is an empire that is about to fall. In this case, it'll be Empire Earth, because the whole lot will go. And there are many symptoms that other empires have faced that we are facing now that came before the fall. Now, that's not a guarantee. Perhaps we'll find a way through it. It seems to me that the way through it, if you could get through it, would be spiritually, because it seems that people lost something in here. But the other thing is that we've been forced, like we were in the 90s, but on a much higher level, because don't forget, it's important to understand the people on the left, the Trotskyists, the Trots and all those lot, they believe in revolution and all this stuff. And that's what they want to bring back. BLM, burn everything down. The left, just burn the system down, just destroy everything. Black Lives Matter, again, defund the police. All about destruction, all about ripping down everything. Everything is evil. Capitalism's evil. Everything is evil. Everything's everybody else's fault. And so, coming back to where I started, why are the left not protecting free speech anymore? Because free speech is being used to criticize them, and they're now the ones that control everything. Why are the left not got any tolerance anymore? Because they are not the ones. They're not the ones fighting to be noticed. They're the ones in control. They control Hollywood. They're in your government. There was a time when even I started to wonder, are these raging feminist Marxists actually real, or are they just about 10 people on the fringes, right? Then you come across them for the first time and the second time. And when you meet them, they are exactly like the people you see on YouTube. When I say exactly, I mean, I cannot stress to you so exactly like it. They say exactly what you expect them to say. They behave exactly how you expect them to behave. Because it's not just that they're all singing off the same hymn sheet. They are literally singing the same hymn in the same octave, the same note. They're just robots that think in unison. Quite frightening. But the point being is, I don't think that some people have grasped that they're in power. They're in power communally, although I say that was one of the last places that they're doing it. They're in power community. They're in power governmentally, in the media. Jesus, even companies that are going to sell you vacuum cleaners soon are going to be doing it. And I joke, MasterCard, PayPal, all these people getting involved in politics as well. Is it so far off? And why? Why would all these people be getting involved in it in a capitalist society? Because they don't want a capitalist society. What they want is control. And they believe that there's a sea just there, and that sea, across that sea, is utopia. They believe this. This is what's so odd. So just across the sea is utopia. What they refuse to accept is the only way to get to this utopia, which, by the way, would be a nightmare because it would have to be enforced. The only way across this sea is to go across the sea of blood. It's the only way to get to this place they're trying to get to. Burn everything down, go totally authoritarian, egalitarian, what do you call it? Sorry, I keep not getting the words right, but just go completely authoritarian and totalitarian. That's the only way. Like, if you leave the right unchecked, even they go that way. The left unchecked go into this authoritarian kind of thing where we'll enforce equality. And you've seen Peter, no, sorry, not Peter Hitchens, Jordan Peterson and people like that talk about forced equality and the dangers of it. So I won't repeat that. But that is what what they're gunning for. And now they're in a position of being in power, and we're all standing around going, "Oh no, there's this big silent majority." Well, it's if there is a majority of people that think the way that we do, then they are fucking useless. They are worth nothing in terms of this fight. Because why they're silent? What good are they? How do you even know they exist? Yes, you go out and you speak to some people and they may agree with you. What difference does it make if nobody is prepared to come out and stand with you? When we go to demos, which, let's be honest, sometimes this year, we've made our excuses. We've tried to make the best of it. But the truth, as I was talking to somebody the other day, I won't name that person in case they don't want to be named. But it's not like it's conspiracy or anything. The truth is that we've been in some quite embarrassing situations this year because whilst BLM and the left and everybody else have been able to raise thousands and thousands of people, we struggled to get a few hundred. And I don't believe that actually is because there's only so few of us. I don't believe that. I just believe there's people that won't put their neck on the line. And there's people that just worry about getting the bills paid, getting the work done, worrying about the kids, and they just want to be left alone. They want to be left out of it. They don't realize that you can't be left out of something like this. Like me, I didn't want to get into this. I never wanted to get into it. I wanted to be left out of it. But when it starts to infect your media, when it starts to infect the books you're reading, when it starts to infect everything you do, when you can't even go to the shop without people spouting some craziness that you know has come straight from Sky News or whatever else, what do you do? I find it incredible. So I spoke to a friend the other day. My friend's homeless at the moment, and I can't even help him. And it's heartbreaking because he's in a real bad position. And but he said to me the other day, he said, and me and him don't sit in an echo chamber. He goes his way, I go mine, and then when we get back together again, I sort of say to him, "Where are you at?" And he'll say, "Where are you at?" And we're often find that we're at the same place. Completely different life experiences, but we're at the same place in what we're perceiving around us. And he referred to about his brother, and he was talking to me about his brother, and he said, "Look, my brother is your problem." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "What do you mean? I've always liked your brother." He went, "No. As an analogy," he said, "It's the end of the world." And he speaks like this, and so it takes me a little while to go, "What are you talking about?" He truly believes that. He truly believes this is it. This is end times, right? Now that's his opinion. He's welcome to it. And actually, as I said, there's a lot that does suggest fall of empire. So for him, he believes everything's it's nosediving, and that's that, right? But he said that wherever we are, his brother is a perfect example of why we've got the problems we've got, because his brother doesn't want to know, just wants to make the money, go on the rat wheel, and die. And it's all he cares about, just his little family unit. And I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I am not judging anyone, because right now I don't think anybody knows what the best way to move forward is. But what he's trying to say to me is, this is your mainstream. As much as you don't want to admit it, Tom, as much as you may see this big silent majority, well, I'm seeing something different. Same as I'm seeing when I'm going out in the street. And that is, yeah, people are unhappy with lockdown, sure. But beyond that, there's a lot of people that believe everything they see on the news. They say that they don't. But they do. Because when you listen to them talk, they're repeating the same bollocks. Now, I'm not saying everything you see on the news is bollocks, as I've said before. Some of the things that you see on there are actually more sick, because of when they tell you the truth is quite often, and like I said earlier on, they do it to your face. Like when David Cameron and Angela Merkel said they were going to change the face of Europe. That was in 2010, and they did. And the biggest crimes that they commit, they will tell you to your face. And sorry, I know I went a bit off track there, but so there's a lot of people. I mean, let's put it another way, right? Sky News and the BBC wouldn't, the news channel parts of them wouldn't exist. I mean, they've had terrible, terrible problems keeping up with people on YouTube. People on YouTube have been beating the news agencies. I wonder why. So, in a response to that, they've gone full on with their agenda, but also they've gone full on with the clickbait. They worked out how clickbait works, and so they're pulling people in. And in my opinion, if you want to know anything about what I think about this global bastard, and I'm a nobody, and that's why it might interest you, because I am a nobody, right? And that's the at the very least, the situation's been manipulated. Right? That's the. I was trying to say it to my friend the other night. I was like, in the best case scenario I can think up in my mind, the best case, if I was to be the most positive about what's going on at the moment as I can be, the best case in my mind is an incompetent government that has seized upon something or is completely mishandling something to the point of destruction. That's the most optimistic in my mind at the moment. Now, perhaps some of you can be a lot more optimistic than that. The most pessimistic I can be is that you're all, the 70% of you that said you believe that this is all planned. Well, that if you're all right, if you're correct, that would be worst case for me. That you're all absolutely right. It's all planned, and we're all as a result. Okay, but I'm not quite at that stage, and it really does. Oh, guess who runs the MSM predominantly? Heard of Maxwell, same now as then. Yeah, and the other thing as well, like who runs Sky News? Who was I talking about earlier on? Disney. By proxy, Disney and Hollywood run Sky News now. Who is it that bought Sky News? Can you remember? I know that it's a Hollywood company and they're closely associated with Disney and stuff like that. And isn't it interesting? Not just that something like Hollywood would have control of these things, but think about it, a company or companies specializing in storytelling, as in fiction storytelling, own your news from another country. That should worry people. And the BBC, state-sponsored fear. I mean, I don't know about what you remember, but for me, everything I remember, whether the Capitol has been bombed, whether it's the IRA, as I've been growing up, whatever the disaster was, one of the things that was always said at the beginning, middle, and end was stay calm. Yeah. And that's when you kind of know that people are trying to deal with things genuinely, because they'll try and say stay calm. And when we were being attacked, well, we're still up, but being attacked constantly by ISIS, you know, the message was, you're not going to beat us because we're going to stay calm. We're going to get, yeah, that's the way that we deal with things in this country. But with the global bastard, it's completely the opposite. We've got state-sponsored fear. Now, what makes it interesting is it's not just come out random out of nowhere. Sage told the government, now this is not a quote, this is me paraphrasing. It told the government that at first people would comply with lockdown. Then, after a certain period of time, they would resist. And they told the government that they would need to use fear in order to keep people in line. That's exactly what they have done. This is the biggest, largest state-sponsored propaganda of fear that's happened since the war. Whether they are telling the truth, right? Let's just say you believe everything they're saying is true. Fine. They are still engaging in a campaign of state-sponsored fear, going through the BBC, going through Sky, and just the government itself. I mean, they really are. They've been pressing the panic button since the beginning of this. And that's what has me so alarmed, because every single thing I've ever seen this country face has always been met with stay calm. How many times have you heard that this time round? I don't know about you, but I personally haven't heard it at all. And all I see is that ramping up the fear. Now, again, many of you will have lots of reasons why you think that's happening. I can't claim to have the answers. I don't know. As I said, I'm with the 19% that thinks that the virus is real. It's not as bad as people say, as they've said it is. That their evidence is well. Here's one thing that sorry, I'm remembering things. Here's something that throws me off straight away. You've got a vaccine that they're working on that doesn't vaccinate you. It doesn't stop you from getting it. Doesn't stop you from spreading it, and doesn't stop you from having to self-isolate. So how is it a vaccine, and what is the point of it, and what? Just why? What? Especially when people are reacting to it badly. Why? Why? Now I understand if they're rushing to do something like this, that it's going to be mistakes and all the rest of it. But if you're at a stage where it doesn't do any of these things, why are you even talking about giving it to anybody, except in a small test case to see how people react or whatever else? But beyond that, why are you talking about vaccinating people when the vaccination doesn't work yet? Okay, so why would you even propose that? It doesn't make any sense. It's all backwards. And what makes me super paranoid is every time any scientist or anyone has come up with something that might lead us out of this, and I'll just come up first thing off the top of my head, herd immunity. And there's been many things like this, but I'll just choose one. Herd immunity. When herd immunity was talked about, it was the scientists were talking about it a lot. It was picking up a lot of traction. That was slammed shut the moment it did pick up traction, wasn't it? Oh no. We've found now that you can contract it multiple times. I don't know what research you guys have done. I can't claim to have done extensive research. That would be a lie. But the research I have done, I've only managed to find 6 people that have had it twice in the world. Now, again, I'm not saying I've done extensive research. My point being is I can't find these thousands or millions of people that have been reinfected. So it's things like that that bother me. The lack of correlation, the fact that we are using numbers that, one, we know are off, and 2, how can you build, say, a vaccine, a strategy in terms of lockdown, a strategy in terms of anything, when you're using data that from back in March, April, May, when we now know that the tests and the data are wrong? So why are you still using those tests, and why are you still displaying those stats as being anything other than nonsense now when you're talking about it on here, or when you're coming up with strategies? How does that make sense? I'll tell you, it doesn't make sense. Now, it doesn't mean that there's some grand conspiracy. There could be another thing going on. There could be the face that they're putting on in public and what's actually happening behind closed doors could be a very different thing. There's all kinds of scenarios. It doesn't have to be one way. But I'm just saying that for me, these are just a few things that I find extremely disturbing. The lack of scientific method. It seems to be more these days that rubbish, forget facts, facts get in the way. I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. So we're going to have a popularity contest. And whoever wins that popularity contest is scientifically right. Can anybody see something wrong with that? That's how it feels to me. That is totally how it feels. And I'm not saying this because I've sat here and I've just got bored and a bit discontented. Unlike many people, the global bastard isn't something that's completely got my full attention. It's not the be all for me, as it is for many of you. It doesn't mean, however, that I'm not aware of it, I'm not watching it, and I'm not seeing what's going on. I'm listening to people, and what I'm seeing is historians, right? Weird historians. Neil Oliver being one of them. People like Peter Hitchens. People I would never have thought coming out and saying pretty much part of, like, I believe, they believe there's a virus, fine. But again, they believe the same as I do, and that it's not as bad. But they've also gone much further. And the historians are saying, look, we've had things like this in the past. And in terms of freedom and that, like, you're all being idiots. You're giving your freedom away, and you don't realize where this goes. Like, this has happened before. And the historians are saying, look, you guys have not done your history lessons very well, because if you look where this leads, it's not to a very pretty place. And then you've got the people who've been following the science, and they're saying the science is all over the place. There's no pattern, there's no correlation. There's, at the moment, if this was all honest and above board, you would think at the moment the best thing to do is say, we don't know nothing right now. We are gathering what data we can, eliminating what data turns out to be false, and doing the best thing that we can with the strategy we can, looking for correlation, looking for causation. Do you know what I mean? It's not a very hopeful answer, but it would be a, if this was all true, it'd be a more honest one. But no. Apparently, I mean, do you remember when I was talking to Anne-Marie Waters, and Anne-Marie Waters was saying, why would science change at borders? Why is there a different lockdown on one side of a border to the other? And it was quite funny. Brilliant point. Well, why does science change at borders? I bet she never realized when she said that it would get worse, and instead of it being borders, it would become tiers within cities. The idea, like the government said recently, we've lost control of the virus. Yeah, the idea that we ever had control of a virus, any virus, doesn't matter if it's common cold, the idea we've had control of it in the first place it would be fatuous. So it doesn't matter whether it's really bad, nowhere near as bad as they say, or whatever else. The idea that they think that they can control a virus that gets blown in the wind, gets contracted in all kinds of ways, the idea that the first lockdown, that slowed down the virus, it just doesn't make sense. They told us that the weather was not relevant, right? That first lockdown was what stopped the spread, right? Okay, so then why was it that the dates of the lockdown and the dates the cases went down don't match, for a start? And why is it that when God knows how many people, Black Lives Matter, got together in London, and all of the other demos and stuff that happened all through the summer didn't cause a second wave? Not even close. Nothing happened. Well, surely, if it was only due to the lockdown, if it was purely the lockdown that stopped it, then surely those events would have triggered a massive second wave. No, they didn't. So I'm not saying that then leads me to the conclusion of this, because I don't know what it leads me to the conclusion of. It leads me to the conclusion of this is, even if this is real, this is nonsense, if that makes sense. They're talking nonsense. I'm wondering why people don't believe them. And if this is all true, then the best thing they could do is be honest with people, even if that honesty is horrid to hear. Because the only thing they've lost control of is a fucking country. They have destroyed the economy. And believe me, the effect it will have on the economy won't be something that we can come out of like a recession. It's not on that scale. It's far, far bigger. The idea that a government can fund something like this is insane. And I know many of you believe in the Great Reset and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you, I understand the principles of it. I don't know enough about it in terms of how practically it's been taken to have an opinion on it. So I have to do more learning on that. But what I can tell you is it any wonder, regardless of what the truth is, that people distrust anything they say about this virus or anything else when they are so continuously lied to, and when we can see that either A, we've been lied to through the course of the summer, or B, they've been completely wrong and incompetent through the course of the summer. Either way, it's not conducive to you wanting to listen to them again, is it? If someone's giving you bad advice, well, you're not going to take it a second time. If someone's deliberately manipulating the advice, you're certainly not going to take it a second time. So I don't, even if the people are wrong that are voting the way they're voting on those polls, I understand why. I understand why they would go that far. I just think that maybe they're going too far. But in my mind, if I'm really honest with you, in my mind, it's cultural revolution. It's nearly complete. And you can take the virus out of this equation because this was happening anyway. So I'm not going to blame it all on COVID because then it just becomes a big mesh of conspiracy theories. Let's just take the global bastard out of this for a minute. It was already happening. And like I said right at the beginning, my concern is the silent majority is either not there or it is, and it is as good as having nobody. If it's silent, it's useless. And it's showing no signs of becoming not silent. So it's either not there or it's just not got the balls or whatever. The point being is a silent majority is no majority at all because it's a bunch of silent people are useless in a case like this. So we're on our own. That's how I feel. And then on top of that, you know, as I said, freedom's taken away and everything else. And you've got to look at this and say, you know, yeah, we've got to stop looking at this as though we're in the middle of a fight that's 50-50 because we're not. Like, we have already been soundly fucking given a kick in the worst of ways. Britain's culture, let's just talk about our own country, yeah, for a minute. Britain's culture, because, by the way, it's not that I don't care about other countries. Like America, I'm really worried about America at the moment. But our country, you know, the soul of what it was to be British has been pretty much destroyed. We're the last links to it. And they're trying to beat it out of us, and they're trying to make these things the new normal as quickly as possible, so next generations won't blink their eyes at what they see coming. I think we've already lost, and I've said we're on the losing side, but I've never actually thought that we've lost. I'm starting to think that maybe we have, but not. But let me. And again, I'm somebody that I think it's Red Squirrel on here likes to mention that I got low IQ or whatever. Probably have. But nevertheless, I can look, I can learn, and I can listen. And I think this is a time where, okay, maybe we've been beat. Maybe we have been beat. And that's actually useful information because you can't fight a battle unless you know what the battlefield's like, what the score is, where you're at. And I just think that maybe we've been walking around thinking it's 50-50, we're in this dogfight. And it's like, no, they've got the media, they've got the schools, you know, we're being Islamified. At the same time, you've got the leftists working with people who shouldn't be natural allies, but they all want the same thing, that's to destroy this country's culture. And they're doing it. And so they're in control of the schools, the media, the government, the major corporations, social media. I mean, there's not a lot that they're not in control of. We totally need an alternate media, a big alternate media, and we need as many of us, and I don't mean as many of us holding a camera who just want to be famous as possible, because all those people should piss off and die, but people that actually give a shit. We need an alternate media. We need so many things. Don't forget, they're being funded, the left, that they are so far ahead, and they're planning. Like, if there's anything I admire about them, and it's not much, it's their planning, their what's the word? Their adherence to the strategy and their conviction. Now, I think sometimes when I see them, I think you're raving lunatics. But they have a plan, they execute it, and they do it with the conviction that they've got. We are lacking some of those things at certain times. Sometimes we've got a lot of one, but not a lot of the other. We don't have all the things in place. Like, we're not funded. We're not funded. We're disorganized. Very much. You know, don't get me wrong. The left has got this to come because when if they do completely win and things die down, then they'll realize the Muslims are not their friends. Everybody will be turning on everybody. Black Lives Matter will turn on anybody that's white. You can see all that coming, but that's not right now. Right now, they're buddying up, and we're in trouble. So we could do with funding. We could do with alternate media, um, and we need, that alternate media needs to be there to pump out people like Anne-Marie Waters, who is being silenced from platforms, because I've seen the way that she's treated on Facebook, for instance. She's got a massive gravitas about her, and she really pulls people in. I think she's the perfect person to actually lead. And I don't think I've said that about many people. There's people around, and I don't want to go too into it now because it's I don't know if they would approve, but people like Danny Roscoe. I truly believe that if we've got any way of reversing, it was not even the case of reversing. I think now we need to start thinking about moving past this and creating a version 2 of our culture, because the first one's pretty much been destroyed. But I really believe it will be people like Danny Roscoe, Team Tommy, and certain other independents that are going to make the difference if it can be made. But if the silent majority is that, then we're on our own. We're on our own in a battle that we're losing against a far more tooled up enemy that is in all the positions it needs to be in. They occupy all the high ground. What do you do? And again, it may sound pessimistic, but from my perspective, I just want to know what fight I'm in. And I just beginning to lose faith about this silent majority. And even if they're there, what fucking use are they? You know what I'm saying? So sorry about my language. I really do need to nip that in the ass. So I will say this, and that is that I've kind of sort of done this because the video that I was working on would have been really nice technical video, but it's becoming obsolete as I'm making it because the movement. This is why I think we're in a cultural revolution, because the movement of things is so quick that by the time I've come up with a documentary looking 5 minutes, that part of that 5 minutes is already obsolete. So it's really difficult. So I'm having to come on and do this ramble, and to be honest with you as well, I'm so rusty. I need to get in front of the camera, as you saw at the beginning, new equipment and everything, trying to get all that down to scratch. I'm glad we at least sorted that part out. But it's just given me food for thought. The poll results and everything else. Like I say, I can't jump on board with you and say that I believe that it's all planned. I need to see proof. But I understand why you voted that way. And if someone can provide me proof, and I don't mean Fred's YouTube channel, I mean actual proof, I'm open-minded to it. But I'm only telling you what my opinion is because I feel like I've been a bit aloof with it, and some people have asked. So my opinion is that virus is real. It's been totally overblown, whether that's through incompetence or deliberate act, don't know. And I believe that it is being used and seized to further the agendas that were already going on before it came around. And regardless of why it's here and how legitimate it is a useful tool for continuing this cultural Marxist revolution, which, again, in my eyes, I don't see how they're that far from victory. And you're going to see that sooner or later when you see something more shocking than, like, we're getting desensitized to a lot of things, but there's going to come a day real soon where you're going to see something that blows your mind in terms of freedom, whether it be someone being arrested and put in prison for 10 years for speaking, or something, not wearing a mask. There's going to be something that's going to come along soon at the rate that we're going. that's going to make you go, oh wow, oh my God, I see now the state that we're beginning to live in. Literally the North Korean type state we could become. And that may seem like, oh, that's way too panicky to come out with something like that. No, that's where these roads naturally lead when they go unchecked. That's why I actually listened to that person the other day when they talked about a two-party system, why it actually is important. And I'd never considered it that way before. But and I'm not saying they're right, it just gives me something to consider. The idea that there is two dominant ideologies and one needs to offset the other. And if they don't, catastrophe, actually made sense to me from what I've seen. And I'm not sitting here advocating for two-party system, by the way. And the other thing as well is that democracy, saying that I'm well behind, but the idea that democracy would save us from things. So, well, actually, no. Democracy is a tool that can be, again, misused or can lead you to disaster. These things that we have are brilliant, but it's the very basics and foundation of community. And this is the one place where I thought that we could make a difference, is on the communal level. But when I go out on the street, I just don't know. I got a communal level with you guys, sure. But a communal level with people like Kaylee and Danny and people like that, and but beyond that, other people in the movement. But what I'm saying is, I want to go out in my local area. And I am actually thinking of trying to do something in my local area, just to get attention, just to see how many people in this area would actually come to something, to at least talk about it, because it, not for any other reason than it would show me the real sort of, it would show me how many people outside of the internet bubble are truly thinking a certain way and are truly worried about all of this above and beyond it being a virus. And also it would be a great way of testing the idea of, would people come together as a community? Because to me, that may be one of the only ways that we get the country back. And to someone the other day that said to me, oh, you in your predominantly white neighborhood, not predominantly, 100% white neighborhood. Well, here's something, I just want to respond to that. I was in a not 100% white neighborhood. I was in a predominantly white neighborhood. And something I wasn't going to talk about very much yet, because I'm measuring it and doing a video on it, is that I don't give a shit if black people move into this area, by the way. If you've got a problem with that, I don't care. I really don't. Right? I care about the culture. But what I have seen in this little place that should be unnoticed by most people is the last couple of summers, when I go to the beach, I feel like I'm in Turkey. Because not just of the people there, but of the way they are acting. The bloke with his Islamic missus and the kids by the sea, and he's on his phone, and I know he's on his phone too. He's on the phone to the next guy who's a few hundred yards down the beach on his phone, and they're doing deals, and I see it all in an area like this. It's unprecedented, never happened before. Suddenly there was attacks on women, and I'm seeing, as this is all happening, I'm seeing Muslims take over shop after shop after shop around here. In a place as small as this, with this few shops and this few people, it doesn't take a lot to take it over. So within the space of 2 years, probably about 45%, 35 to 45% of the businesses around here are Muslim. From going back to, say, 3 years ago, when it would have been 0% of the businesses. So I don't worry about the colour of people coming into the area, because we're a national park now, and it was expected that more people would come in from outside. I don't care. I care about the neighbourhood being taken over by an ideology, though, and I can't prove that that's happening. All I've got at the moment is correlation. Yeah. But I'm watching, and at some point, if there is something to report, I'm going to report, and I am going to beat the drum round here, because if what I'm seeing at the moment, and I really don't want to make a statement on this at the moment, if what I'm seeing at the moment is what it appears to be around here, then it's exactly what Tommy was trying to tell people years ago. If you're sat out in the country or wherever you are, you're middle class or your country places, you think you're safe, you're wrong, because it's just time before it spreads to you. Well, the people that have come and seen me here have said, Jesus, you really do live out in the middle of nowhere, don't you? Because I'm about as far south as you can go, and I'm in the forest, right? And if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. So I was doing that video on the Isle of Wight saying this place is in danger, and people are like, it's an island. It's what are you worried about? Well, the tanker with the people on it was part of the thing I was worried about. And the fact that an area like this can be affected as badly as it has been means that it is literally about 4 miles away from where I'm sat now. And if they're taking over this area, so if that's true, if I'm right, and I will report if I am, I'm going to bang a war drum here really loudly, or try, so that other people can at least see what's happening here, so that perhaps, maybe, with your help, we can show people living in these sleepy little places, it's coming. Keep your eyes open. Like, don't be so arrogant as to think it's just cities. All right. No, no, it's not. And like I said, I can't prove anything yet. Well, I could, but it's not enough. It's not enough to damn the people that are here. And I'm not going to damn people unless they truly deserve it. But if I find that proof, and I am looking, then I'm going to go all out to make sure everybody knows about it, and everybody knows which shop, who, what's going on, everything. The crime stats, everything. Because I'm watching. And just in the hope that if this is the case and this area does go down, other people might take note of it. Because just people are living in a bubble. And I know saying that phrase at the moment probably sounds more weird than ever, but I know I've been on a massive ramble, right? But then again, that's what I do. And I'm sorry if my IQ isn't high enough for some people, but I haven't been on it for a long time. I'm amazed just to be sat here even doing this. The fact that I even forgot that I had StreamYards, new equipment, and everything else. So I had to come on and try and say some of this stuff now because, like I say, I was doing a really nicely presented video, but it's just not going to be done quick enough. And I was in exactly the same position this time last year. I ended up not making anything until the new year. So just come out and talk some what might to many of you seem like random bollocks. That's fair enough if that's how you see it. I'm totally okay. I put myself out here, and so I expect to be judged as an idiot, dumbass. I don't give a shit. I didn't come on here because I thought I had the highest IQ or the best ideas. I came on here because there's nothing special about me. Or to put it a better way, I'd like to say I'm normal, but I'm certainly not normal by a certain standard. But I am a working class nobody. So yeah, I obviously I listen to the opinions of intellectuals and everything else, but I come on here to represent people like me and like you. And yeah, so I haven't come on here to make. If I make a pre-recorded documentary style video, then totally different. I hold myself to a much higher standard. But when I'm talking like this, you're pulling stuff off the top of your head, and it's over there. It's not. So I'm not here to be the smartest person in the room. I've always told you that. I've always said I don't have the answers. And if I find them, I would be quick to say them. It's not about that. It's about saying we're all just working class and middle class people, and we're all nobodies, but actually we're all somebodies, and it matters. And we should be getting together. As I said at the beginning, I didn't want to get into this, you know, but here we are. You know, I've just done stuff to my place. I've spent a lot of money on the podcast, I'll be honest, and I worried because I wasn't sure if I was going to come back, I'll be honest. And I spent a lot of money on my place, and it was actually a conversation I was having with Danny the other night. And, you know, there's a part of me that was like, I could just enjoy what I've got and not do this. And it's a perfectly valid choice for me to go away and do that and just enjoy my home, enjoy what life I've got left, and, you know. But I think that if you truly care, I think once you've got into this, I don't know that you can really walk away like that. It's like me disappearing recently. It wasn't really a choice, you know. I never really made the choice to walk away. It was like it was essential that I did, and I always plan to come back. It's just been harder to come back than I thought. But I just think that if you really care about this, it's impossible to ignore, because it's like I say, in the veins, in the capillaries of everything that is us, that's British, or that we could do, or that we could, where places we could go. You know, Tier 3 New Forest. There's literally nowhere to escape to. There's nowhere to get away from all this bullshit. You can't get out of the country. You know, so. And as I said to you the other day, but I won't harp on about it on this channel again now, but just to cover it again, I said to you the other day, I've got some seriously deep worries about the mental health situation. And that's why I worry about making videos like this. It's why you don't hear me talking about the global bastard too much in the videos. Because without having facts to back up certain things, I don't want to come on and fearmonger like the government's doing. Like, the government is misleading people with really shit facts that aren't really facts and scaring the life out of people. And the last thing I want to do is come along and commit the same crime out of ignorance. So it's why I won't jump on board with the 70-odd%, because I don't have the proof to go that far. You know, it's not a question of belief. It's a question of, to make a claim like that, I've got to be able to back it up. And like I say, but at the same time, I do feel like it's being used, and I kind of think that's really as far as I can go with the thought. I'll have a quick check for your comments, and I know I've gone on a bit of waffle, and I did say to you at the beginning, it'd be very difficult for me to make all the points that I wanted to make, because really, as I said, they were much deeper, and they were supposed to go into this sort of documentary style video, but the time is moving too quick to do it. So all I can think to do is blab some of this out today, and then go away and look at the most important parts that I was trying to talk about, and really focus hard on them, and just get the facts and the stats out for you, so that I can back some stuff up. Because it's okay talking off the top of your head and all the things that you remember and everything else, but I don't want to be guilty of the same crime as our government's committing at the moment. That's why you've seen me on the fence so much. I need proof of things, because, yeah, you know, we have a media that's quite happy to report things without proof. We have a government that's quite happy to say things without proof. The last thing we need is people on our own side doing the same thing. So that's why I'm so wary, you know. Anyway, let me just say hello. So thank you all for being here. I'm sorry, I know I've waffled at speed today as well, but I needed to do this. In fairness, I needed to do this, even if I didn't have this whole thing going on. I needed to get back going again. Like I said, I forgot a year's StreamYards, and I've got even had it. It's all changed. I've got to use it, you know, got to learn to use that again. But January 4th, I will have the third most powerful graphics card in the world. Why does that matter? Because then the only thing left wrong that stops me from creating really, really good videos, ones that take a long time to make, admittedly, but the only thing then stopping me is me. So I'm in a position where I'll be running out of excuses, and that's the position I wanted to put myself in, because I need to know if I've got still got the talent and the motivation to push my video abilities up, because I just haven't pushed myself at all. I really haven't, and it's kind of like the one thing I'm ashamed of, because the videos that I could have made and the videos that I have made, worlds apart. But it had at the same time this year. I think I would give anybody a pass for things this year because you think about how this year started. You think we were at that Brexit thing in what was it January 31st? That was the first thing we filmed this year, wasn't it? 2020 January 31st, and it was the Brexit. It was a Brexit celebration sort of thing. It was when Nigel Farage was on stage. That's when I was working with Sir Eric. Stu was there, and yeah, and so that was the stage we were in then. And what we didn't know at January 31st, we were only a couple of months away from absolute and utter chaos. We did with Katie Jane, we did the digital demo, which I thought personally was a success. And I thought it was a great thing to have, especially as during that first lockdown, many of us, not all of us, but many of us believed it was necessary. And by the way, I intend to, as a matter of course, flout these COVID rules as much as possible over the next few days, over the next couple of weeks. Now, I say that I wouldn't be arrogant enough to flout it in such a way as to potentially put other people in danger. Because if I'm wrong and I put someone in danger, what kind of person does that make me? So when I say flout the rules, I mean I'm going to go out and go to places and do stuff, but I'm also going to stay away from people, as in I'm not going to mix it, but I am going to be out there in places I'm not supposed to be, doing things I'm not supposed to do. Why? I have to. I hate authority anyway, but this is a bollocks, this lockdown. That's the one thing I am sure of. The science does back it up. The science says there is no science to back this up, pretty much. The we don't even have correlation, let alone any kind of causality, any kind of real proof about lockdowns or anything else. It's the one thing I feel really confident about saying, this lockdown stuff is bullshit. We literally have no idea what impact it has. And it's a bit like, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I've heard that paramedics at certain, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that paramedics have to be seen to be giving CPR to people, even when they know they're not going to make it, because you've got to be seen to be doing something. And I kind of feel like, sort of similar situation could have been going on. Lockdown is almost like, well, it appears to be, it's like it appears that we're doing something constructive, but at the same time, even the World Health Organization has, and this is the thing. So if you want to talk about facts, they've said, and this is quite measurable in terms of mental health, at least. They've said that the damage being caused by the lockdowns is now far exceeding the anything that the virus could do. Anything. The mental health effects and all kinds of other effects. It's stopping people getting treatment for other illnesses. The effects are far outweighing. Sorry. Another thought just crossed my mind, and that is just simply when weighing all of this up, though, you've got to remember that this is a global thing. Because what I see some people do is they just go straight into blaming their own government, as in our government is in control of all this. It's like, well, no, it's not, because this is a global thing. So whatever's going on, whatever it is, even if you're right about the things that you're saying, our country is not the center of the world anymore. So, whether our government is misusing it and stuff like that's a whole different thing. But the idea that our government came up with it is that's something I really couldn't subscribe to. Excuse me. The things I've heard, like Bolton say, and Bolton said, I think Bolton said right from the beginning, he said, "Look, we're never going to know. We'll never know the truth. We'll never know." And I think that's one of the fairest statements that anyone's ever made about it. But we'll never really know the full truth, regardless of what happens. We'll just never know. Yeah, that's just how it works. So like I said, I don't have the answers. All I can tell you is, like, when you see, well, I've talked to you about DC Comics, Oculus. I hadn't even started on Nvidia yet. Netflix, Cuties, yeah. And I think all they've done to address that show, do you know what they've done? They've changed the name of the show. That's it. So it's still there. Pedophiles Heaven. And on and on and on. These industries now, the computer, to be in the computer industry, to be into the comics, to be into the games, they've got everywhere now. They are like a fucking plague. And whether you like it or not, even if you think, if you're on the left or not on the left, in the traditional left perhaps, or if you think you're not apolitical, right, which is just ridiculous, it's just an ignorant thing to say, you're going to find out that that's incorrect when it starts to impede upon your life and the things you were trying to do. Because there's only so many times that people can just keep going, yeah, okay. Everybody's got a limit. Although I'm beginning to wonder in this country if people do have a limit, because where is it? Where is it? Like in France, it seems like they got a hair trigger in that one thing goes wrong and they'll have a bloody riot. They go a bit too far. Over here, we seem to have gone completely opposite. We've lost that lion in us, and it's like, oh, next time we'll do something, or we'll wait for the perfect opportunity. Even I'm guilty of it. There's things I've wanted to do, but I'm still waiting for that opportunity to come along. And it's just like, perhaps I should be making that opportunity come along. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making any sense. And at that point, I really don't know if I am. So I'm just going to have a quick look through your comments and I'm going to sign off, because if I'm starting to feel like I'm boring myself, then it really worries me about where you are. Just have a look. The pitch is not great, is it? It's not got a great connection. So how's the sound turned out in the end, guys? All right, because I'm not using a lavalier. I took the lavalier off. I'm just using the mic as is, wireless. It's also actually, I don't know if you're interested in this, but this is a really cool mic, right? And Bolton got me an extra bit for it, which actually has made all the difference. I'm not going to show you that bit at the moment, but he got this clip. And do you remember when I was at the speaker's corner, the mics got ripped off me? And my worry when I saw this wireless mic, you guys seen it, yeah? My worry was, how easy is it going to be for them to just rip this off? Too easy. It's just going to get knocked off, and it's a lot of money's worth, and going to be right back where I started. Well, Bolton sent me this magnet thing, and the magnet is unbelievably strong. Nothing's taken that off, so that's really given me a little bit of confidence for that. But on top of that, this mic here fits into this, right? This is supposed to, this white bit here I've put on. It's not finished yet, so that's why it looks so messy. But it clips into there. Then you put your thing on, and you've got basically what like a interview microphone, still wireless as well. And bear in mind, a wireless interview microphone is really expensive. So although this is an expensive mic, it's good because it swaps over, does the two things. By the way, what this mess is here is, when it's tidied up, it'll be black under there still. I'll turn that back black again. But this is just to have zero news on it, like they do on the professional things. So I just started the first layers of it. So yeah, so if anybody wants to come up with a cool Zero News logo or anything to put on there, I'll be really grateful, because I'm going to print something off, put it on there, laminate it, and I think that'd be kind of a bit fun. But yeah, so thank you to Bolton for that piece, just amazing. Yeah, so that's about it. But anyway, sorry, I was going to catch up on that. So what I will say is, in case I don't I will probably be making videos the next few days, and I can say that because I didn't expect to be making this one today. So, but I will say now, just in case I get cut off or anything else happens, because I didn't even check my battery yet, it's 18%. I'll say, I know I'm coming on here probably sound quite pessimistic. I'm just talking about the subject. But I do hope that whatever tier you're in, or whatever's going on, whether you decide to adhere to the law or whether you decide to ignore it, whatever you do, I just hope that you can make the best Christmas of it that you can. I feel for the people who are ill, who are terminally ill, and things like that. And I think that's just all Christmases are like this, but I think it's especially important this year to really keep your eyes open. The people, oh, sorry, it's my bit of pussy for the day. We really got to be aware of what's going on with the people around us, because some people are taking this a lot harder than others. What's going on, and I mean so much harder that they are topping themselves. We just need to keep an eye out for people, because it's not just about topping. People are just suffering, you know. So try and have the best Christmas you can. The good thing is, the weather's cold, shit. Um, there's not much light. So if there's any time good to be locked in, it's now. But with family members is better, and yeah, you know. So whatever you decide to do, I just want to wish you Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays, not trying to be politically correct. No, Merry Christmas. This is England. Merry Christmas. Um, and I really do hope you make the best of it, and not just the day, because it's too much just one day. I mean, the whole Christmas period. Just I really wish everyone the best. Send my love out to everyone. I really hope that you can make the best of it, no matter what situation you're in. I hope somehow you find a way of making it fun, and I hope you get to see the people in your lives that matter. I really do. I wish that on all of you. I really do. Um, and I hope none of you suffer this Christmas. I hope you all have the best time that you can. Um, and again, I'll just catch up with this, and I'll F off. But we need, yeah, you know, when I get back going again as well, we'll start getting the interviews back on with people for Britain, because honestly, I do see them as being so pinnacle in all of this. So just looking through, interesting stat that Bolton, the ONS stats. Interesting. Sorry, there's too many for me to read all of them, but bear with me. See, the thing is that argument you made about Trump Bolton, I actually totally understand why you make that argument. But that argument works. I not works. So that makes it sound contrived. I don't mean it like that. That argument affects, I think, a lot of people, because yeah, like you say, the save the Western world, it just doesn't marry up. For me, it doesn't really affect me in the same way, because I've never really been a massive Trump supporter. I've also not been a Trump hater. I just don't really care that much. I just think people make too much of it. But who knows why? You know, he's either part of the system. I mean, I've just been one of the presidents that don't really have any power. But you know, who knows? Who knows? Um, but I don't actually know the full argument you were making there. So I may be misreading. So that's the problem with going through the comments. So really, I'm just going to go through and why was Tommy banned from VK Zero News? To be honest with you, that's news to me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I did see a thing this morning. I don't know if any of you saw it, but a lot of people were posting on VK today saying, "Oh no, VK is getting Facebooked," and they were showing all these posts about immigration, and everything else that had been removed, thumbnails removed, videos removed, and it did look like mass censorship on a Facebook scale in the same way as, and I'm surprised to say the least. But a lot, again, I don't spend a lot of time on that platform, but what I saw was a lot of posts today with people showing examples, just like they used to on Facebook, of posts and things all being deleted now about immigration and all these other things. And it does look like VK has got the number boost, and is now on the turn and becoming like the rest of them. And that's how it seems on first glance. Oh, what was that? Something just happened on my phone then. 15% battery. I've got to go in a minute. I just want to read as many of your comments as possible. Hey, Busker. Hey, everyone. Sorry if there's anyone I haven't said hello to. Hey, Kevin. Kevin Murphy. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. If I miss anyone, because I'm rushing through the comments. New Year's Eve, hit the streets. Agreed. Agreed. Still catching up. We got nothing to fear but fear itself. Oh, and you're on a roll today. I agree. Yeah, totally. Totally. And the fear part is the fear part in all this. The fear porn, as people call it, is the real thing that if there's anything I've got no influence, but if there's anything I could influence people not to do, it would be not to ingest the amount of fear that is being projected on you, because it's useless. It's a form of control, but more importantly, it's use. It does you absolutely no good. There's no benefit to whatsoever, and it is literally the fear itself. That is, I know it's an old saying, but it's really true. It is just the fear itself. It's not a situation where I mean they are pushing fear. They are promoting fear. They've paid money to create fear. They've been advised to create fear. You know, terrible situation. Oh, Danny Ross goes on. Hey, Danny, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I'm going to run out of battery in a minute. I'm just trying to catch up with everyone. Good to see you all. Uh, can't read all the comments, obviously. But I'm just going through as many as I can. See, I fucking hell, Bolton is on a roll. Totally agree about the thing. So somebody mentioned about having a chip under the skin, and Bolton said, and this is so true. And I measured this last year. Right? He said, um, you don't need it. Most people use mobile phones. Data is harvested by most intelligence services. This is true. They've been caught doing it. Snowden caught doing it, right? So it's absolutely 100%. You don't like the idea of putting a chip under your skin and all this stuff is actually obsolete. That's old tech. That's an old tech. Right, to us, on first listen, that sounds futuristic. It's actually quite retro now. Um, when I got the S10, this phone here, I'm looking for it and I'm holding it. When I got this phone, I measured the tracking on it compared to my previous phones. It was almost 1 to 1, almost down to like an inch. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's a perfect tracking device. You've got voice recognition things everywhere that do take logs of everything that's said, regardless of what's said. I've seen the logs. Yeah, you don't need to set people up putting chips on the skin. We voluntarily, we voluntar, voluntarily, if we want to. This is what I was talking. That's why I talked about the Oculus thing earlier on. Exactly the same thing. To use that headset, you have to be part of Facebook. Just to use a VR headset that doesn't need Facebook. And that's why I was bringing it up, because it's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. By me buying that, if I was to use Facebook, which I don't, but I still got to have the account. And if I was to, or if I was to buy something through that, I'd be playing their game. I'd be doing exactly what they want. And this is why the German and American government are taking them to court. But I can't see that they're going to get anywhere. Remember that us low IQ people got told by those high IQ that we couldn't get an EU deal. Well said, Danny. Well said, my man. Fair play. Fair fucking play. That was really well said. Ginger, don't know if you're still in. Good to see you. Jesus, more comments than I realised. Sorry. Hey, LG. Right, it's jumped down, so I think I may have some. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to jump off. Just the comments. Hang on. What have I got? 13%. Just looking at some of the stats that a couple of people are coming up with and stuff like that. I'm taking it in. Right, so Danny said 2020 was our grounding year. I think we all are ready 2021. You guys make the media and I'll show you the stories. We need them. We need them because 2021, at the moment, I feel like 2021's planned. And I know I'm almost going back on myself by saying that, but I really, truly believe, yeah, that the 2021 could be 2020 with 2020 with some serious steroids. Honestly, yeah. I mean, they're already talking about third and fourth and fifth waves and things just on that scope, you know. What's normal? Babs, I have two answers to that question. One of them is normal is what everybody else is and you are not. Normal is the majority. Normal is when I say that I'm not normal, what I mean is I'm quite relatable to people because we all have a certain aspect of our humanity that's the same, and I can tap into that with people, and that is why we see eye to eye with a lot of things, with my politics and that. But generally speaking, there is a normal, average way to behave, and it's broad. So I'm not saying there's this thin behavior. You know, it's very broad pattern, but I'm just saying I'm kind of on the fringes of that of that. You know, I'm perhaps not. To go and stick yourself on camera and do this shit, you can't be completely right in the head. So, and I'm serious about that, like totally serious. You've got to have something slightly amiss. I'm not saying wrong necessarily, just slightly different. But beyond that, you know, there's nothing. So normal is what everyone else is, and you're not. Jason Bourne, hey, good to see you as well. Sorry, I'm trying to see everyone. Hey, Ricky, Police Watch. I'm trying not to miss anyone. Fred, I haven't seen you for ages. Good to see you, Fred. Good audio. That's good. That's good. I'm chuffed now. I'm chuffed. I was worried earlier on when you said the audio was really tinny. I was like, oh no, these are supposed to be really good mics, but that's good to hear. Merry Christmas. Yeah, so you know, I really do wish everybody the best Christmas that you can have, and I really, you know, just send my love out to all of you. And this year, just too many names to name, but just thank Team Tommy, thank Team Zero News, thank people like Kaylee, Danny Roscoe, the names actually, Kevin Murphy, the names go on and on. Bad, there's too many. There's too many, and I always worry that when I try and do this, I will always miss too many names out. And bust, you know, too many names out. So all I'll just say is thank you. You know who you are. Thank you to all of you. That whether you're inside the Zero News team and you stuck by me, even though I disappear and I'm all over the place, and you still come on and you mod, or you still come on and you help. You know, Bolton's stuck with me. You know, Archer's out there, and I know he's always got my back. Whether it's you, whether it's people like Team Tommy who are solid and I would do anything for, or with people like that, you know, like I say, Danny Roscoe, who's out there really, really he pretty goddamn cares. It's all of you that give me faith that we can still win, that we can still do something. It's all of you people, and any of the names that I haven't said, you know who you are. So a massive thank you to all of you. Massive Merry Christmas. In case there's any reason why I don't make another video, Happy New Year, but I expect I will before then. And just have the best time you can. And that's all I really got to say. Social distance round of applause for Syracuse. Mr. Tom Fury, that's worth highlighting. That's fucking brilliant. I was saying, Danny, where they're doing where they're put the New Forest into tier 3. Me and Kaylee were thinking of going and making sure that the horses were all wearing masks, but perhaps we'll do that another day. All right, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for letting me get the equipment up and going and everything else. There may be there will be more glitches, but we'll get through it. Love you all. Storm Fury, Zero News. I am calling it a day for now. Or am I? Or am I staying? No, I'm only kidding. Goodbye, everyone.